And they hold this up and pose, and they say, well, they gave us $4.5 million. Well, really? Did you cash that check and put it in Sterling Heights account? No, the 4.5 million went to the vendors that are dredging out the Clinton River. That the money didn't come to us, it came to a vendor that's doing a job that happens to be located in our city, but there's no impact whatsoever on our budget. I think these vendors, like the people that made the Vita courses, maybe you don't remember, but the Vita courses around here anymore, but a few decades back, that was quite the rage. You had to have this physical fitness course that somebody sold you some specialized equipment, and they went around nationwide and sold every city one of these. They put the equipment in, nobody used it, and it rotted out. But basically, I looked at the Vita course company, went around, was a grant manipulator, and says, you can put this in, you can get a grant, and it won't cost you anything. It's the same story with these upgraded playgrounds that they say, okay, we're going to put a $100,000 climber in here. And they say, what's wrong with you, Mr. Smith? You don't like kids? And I like kids just fine, but I don't like a plastic climber that costs more than my house. I got a house on a piece of land with a basement and a garage and a stove and air conditioning that costs about the same much as a piece of plastic playground equipment. I said, I don't have anything against kids. I just have something against paying 6 times what a thing is worth. That this bridge says, well, we're getting $650,000. Well, the bridge building company's getting $950,000, and 300 is coming out of us, and we don't need the bridge. It's just like a pair of shoes that you don't want and you wouldn't consider buying, but when you're 2 for 1, you buy 2 pair and put up with the pain.
By the way, this is a fantastic question because we did something, I guess we did Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion was predicated on the fact that we were going to save state money and we were going to get massive amounts of money from the federal government for the first 2 years. And then in the 3rd year, it turned out that the state has to pick up more and more of the money. Just keep in mind that 4,000 refugees came in 1 year. They're all on Medicaid. So that Medicaid expansion made it easier for us to qualify to get more refugees. Keep in mind that I believe the number is something like 40% of the refugees continue to take and stay on those programs year after year after year. So in addition to matching federal funds with state funds or local funds, you have the situation where you're spending lots of that incremental money instead of taking care of Medicaid people who were either poor people or elderly or handicapped. You're now using Medicaid money for 45-year-old able-bodied men who didn't have it before. And by the way, some of those people are the 4,000 refugees that are placed on Medicaid.
So I'd like to add that the budget for national security, that would be another expense there. I want to add that. So my question is, how can we pick our refugees so they would not pose a danger to our residents, recruitment centers, and national security? Are these refugees screened by Homeland Security? Are they taken an oath to be law-abiding citizens? And who will be accountable if they become a threat to our families and cities?
Okay, did you hear that question? So this has to do with an increase, it's a great question, increase in law enforcement costs as well as exposure to safety issues for our families.
First of all, I think a priority for our government is to protect us and not to let 10,000 people come here who we don't even know if they're good or bad. I want people to come here who love our country, who want to be Americans, but I do not want Sharia law coming here.
I don't live in the city of Sterling Heights. I live in Shelby Township, but I advocate for the Christians from Iraq and Syria who live in Sterling Heights as well as internationally, especially in the Middle East. And what I do is I advocate for their protection, but I want to make sure they're also safe in the city of Sterling Heights. And I would like to hear every single one of your opinions, just going through all of you on the table, how you feel, especially with all the refugees coming in large numbers into our country, not only into our cities and our state. How do you feel about, I'm sure they're going to be highly motivated to build more mosques. So I would like to know every single one of your opinions on how you feel about building more mosques in this city.
Yeah, this was a question that came up during the rally quite a bit and at City Hall. What came out of it is, you were discriminating against the Muslims. No, we are not. We do not want to discriminate against anyone coming into our country. But the problem is with the mosque is their doctrine of the Quran, that they don't want Christians to be in any kind of position. They do not like Christians in that, basically because of our beliefs. So you're bringing that into our country. Are they going to become Americans and abide by a godly country that was founded by one God, not many and not all? And that's the issue that's coming about, is our country was founded by God Almighty, and our country is held together by God Almighty. And that's what our basis of our Constitution is, one nation under God. And that's the thing that is the question that many people have and don't really, if you're not part of that culture, you don't understand. And that becomes an issue. But for us, we're still going to be a country under God. And that's the question we have to ask them. Are they going to come into America and be an American and live under our Constitution under God? And if they're not, then they should probably stay in their own country, because then they can do what they want to do. And that. So that's just my feeling on it. And like I said, no one wants to discriminate against anybody. That's the agenda that City Hall and the present council's pushing, is that there's discrimination with the LGBT and all of this. And that's to push our residents out of our city and drive them out, so they can bring in who they want and run the city and control it almost like a dictatorship. And that's what we don't want. Our country and our city is run by the people. We would be elected to serve the people. The people write the paychecks for City Hall, not City Hall the other way around. And that needs to change. And that's why we're all standing up to run.
I am concerned about what is happening inside the mosque. Are they recruiting ISIS? And I am very, very concerned about what is happening. I agree with my husband that there are good and bad in every group of people. So I can't say that all Muslims are bad. I'm just concerned about ISIS. I do have a very good Muslim friend. She was my hairdresser, and I've known her for 20 years. She has me to her house once a month for lunch. She is a good person. But we cannot afford even a small percentage of ISIS to come to Michigan or to our country, because then our life is going to be in danger. Like you say, we are Christians here, and they want to kill us.
Well, I agree with everything that Jackie and Verna have said. I think recently we had the issue when they had to balance the property rights of the village, the people in Hatherley Village, versus the religious rights of the Muslims that wanted to come in. But we have very few Muslims in Sterling Heights. Is it going to be? Well, if we build it, they will come. Is that what's going to happen? And that's what I'm thinking too. And we already have a mosque up at M59 in Ryan, and that had a lot of opposition. There was fierce opposition to that. I know they still build it. When my husband and I were there, we were standing up for the residents that were against it, because they know full well. People from Middle Eastern countries, Iraq especially, know what persecution they went through. I believe, well, I do know that the Muslim religion is not a religion. It's a cult. It's a political. It dictates every step of your life, and I am very much against that. They don't believe in the Constitution. I've had acquaintance with many Muslims, and it would just make my head spin, because their mindset is not exactly where I'm coming from, because I'm an American citizen. So I think it has to be very carefully treated. I don't know if you can really refuse somebody But if there's any way to get it out of the, like we did in Hatherley Village, on a non-discriminatory basis, I think that's the way we have to move very carefully.
Well, under the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Open Housing Act of 1968, an individual or a family has a right to buy or rent any place they want to in the United States. And I think those two laws are working very well. And I really sense the unrest of the 60s. I've never heard a single case of anybody in America being denied the right to buy or rent a home any place they can afford it. But there's certain things that are prohibited under the Open Housing Act, and I think that's what's going on here. When you have a mass resettlement of a group of people, not as individuals, but as a government organized program, that's what was called blockbusting and steering. That's exactly the opposite of open housing. That the right of an individual to live where they want is being infringed on when thousands of individuals are treated as a favored class and injected into a community because a group discrimination effectively discriminates against anybody that's not in the favored group. So this business of houses of worship, there's churches and synagogues and temples and mosques, and the typical way it works is if maybe 200 or 300 people of a religion happen to live in an area, they put their money together and they build themselves a house of worship. And it's an uphill battle to get enough people with enough money to build this, but when you get the people, you build the house of worship. You don't have some mysterious outside financier that somehow comes up with $10 million and blows out a neighborhood and puts in a house of worship first in order to inject his followers later. That's the opposite of the way things are supposed to be.
On this mosque that was turned down there on 15 Mile Road, you got to remember a couple of things. First thing, it was a special land use they needed. They had 7 different 7 different things that they had to comply with in order to build it, and they couldn't meet one of them. As a matter of fact, when they postponed the meeting the first time, they gave the petitioner a month to come back with some plans, and he did absolutely nothing. So, city really had no choice. But, there are 2 mosques right now. Mayor Taylor was in full support of the one up on Hall Road there and Ryan Road. The residents were worried about overflow as the community grew, their membership grew, and now when they have their meetings in the mosque, the people are now parking in the apartments, and there's all kinds of problems there. So the petitioner had applied or had tried to build this mosque in 20 different areas, and he was turned down every time. And then for us to find out that Mr. Mendy, Mr. Mendy that had been working with this petitioner for over a year behind a table. I mean, I never knew about it until it just showed up, so, instead of building on a big piece of vacant land, they wanted to buy 5 residential lots because it was the cheapest way to go, and then they were going to try and shoehorn this big mosque, and it just didn't fit. So I was opposed to that mosque, and I would be opposed to any other mosque in the city. You can't stop them from building, but I say go ahead and build somewhere else. We don't need a mosque in Sterling Heights, so thank you.
Okay, I have to remind everyone, we live underneath the Constitution, and everyone has the right to religious expressions, even the Muslims. So I just want to caution, what I'd like to see, though, is making sure that those people are screened. In fact, I heard of before they come into this country, because though we may not disagree with them and their religious views or such, they have a right like we do. Because if we do not uphold the rights of one, we don't uphold the rights of any. So it's important that we stay within the Constitution. But I would suggest, though, is that our state or our federal level would have a better opportunity to screen these people that are coming in, especially young, single-abled young men. I heard of another option that I'd like to see on the table. that they create an opportunity to stay in their homeland, just provide protection and allow them to stay there. Because I think that would be the better solution. I don't know if that's the intent of our federal government. I think there's an underlying cause. Anytime Obama's here, there's always underlying causes. I don't trust him at all. But that's not the point. The point is everybody has a right. The thing that we have to do is, what we can do is before someone comes in here to guarantee our safety, we should vet them or create an opportunity in their homeland where they can be safe. The expenditures probably are the same, but I have nothing against anyone wanting to build a mosque. What I have is when the people's voices are not heard. They have legitimate concerns and they have the right to express them. As we know, the zoning ordinance allows for special variances of residential uses if certain standards and conditions are met. Nonetheless, meeting those standards and condition is not 100% guarantee that special variances should be approved. So understand what I'm saying here. They have a right to ask for a zoning ordinance, but if the zoning ordinance says no, that is also an option that they have to take. What I caution people to do is when you label people that disagree with you, because they label the people that disagreed with the mosque build as haters, when they were just putting logical reasons as to why this mosque should not be here. And just because you agree to disagree is no reason for someone to label you, and that's what I thought was the biggest problem. I thought the city council was divisive because they allowed that thinking to go on, and just because the outcome of that planning commission is favored the residents, that is their option. And I thought it was a great decision to be made. Just because, though, you come up before the planning commission doesn't mean your variance is going to be granted. And when it's not granted, please do not resort to name calling or such.
I know many are waiting for this answer, especially the liberals that are attacking us. They want to know, no you, I'm talking about the other side because I was asked that question. They want to bring me down. I was called hater, bigot, when I protested on 15 Mile when they were building the mosque. Somebody even threw things to us. Muslims passed by. I went home scared, but I had a great God. That is what is coming. When you show me the video of the 3 men getting killed, I almost cried. Because I know that this country, we fear. When I went around, people feared. They didn't want to talk because we want to be politically correct, because the Constitution protects everybody. And we don't want to say the truth. People are scared. They are. They don't want masks because they think, which I researched it, a mosque is a political center. It is not just a temple. And I know I could be sued for what I'm saying now here. But can I live free in this country if I don't express with love the truth? I know Chaldeans who suffered. I know Chaldeans whose family died there. And today, when I heard last night about the coalition between Muslims and Chaldeans, a forum that was going on today at the City Hall, I posted in my Facebook page. I don't know what to think. I was sad, not because not everybody had their rights here. You can't have any rights in this country, please. This country has more rights than other countries. But I was really sad. What is going on behind doors in our government? This, for me, and I told one of the reporters, seems to be a political move. We want to show how peaceful, and I'm not against the peace among any of the groups. But behind that peace is something else, and we know it. Nobody want to talk about it because you fear. What kind of country is America anymore? We have to abide by the law. I do. I never has been called for something that is wrong done in this country or even in my country. But let's call it the way it is. People are afraid in this country. People are afraid to say, we can't have a mosque. A mosque is a building for political business. A mosque, I was told by a lawyer, is a place to show power. You build it, you take over the city. I'm not afraid to say that we need to consider the people. The ordinances are there to be followed. And I know somebody will go from here to go and say it to the city council, and tomorrow I may be in the news saying that I discriminate Muslims, which I don't. One of my best friends is a Muslim, and I love her. She offered to help in my campaign. She had my sign in her yard because I don't have anything against anybody. I'm concerned about the fear that we have. Thank you.
I could be wrong, but I really feel that our mayor, Michael Taylor, has a lot to do with the fact that the Planning Commission all of a sudden changed their mind and decided to vote no against the mosque. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday. She said her husband did a search on the internet, and he found out that Michael Taylor, our mayor Michael Taylor, is telling the Muslims, just wait. I don't want to lose the Chaldean vote, and therefore I'm going to wait as far as the mosque until after the election.
I think it's important to recognize that the Constitution does not say that we have to be stupid. The Constitution does not say that we have to be unaware that Sharia law violates the Constitution. Sharia law violates state of Michigan laws. If you understand what Sharia is, and I know that you probably know it much better than I do, much of Sharia is a violation of the Constitution and the state of Michigan laws. So if somebody wants to build a mosque and it's a Sharia-free mosque, that's an idea. Or we have another thing about taqiyya, which means that it's okay for non-Muslims to be told something other than the truth. The other comment I want to make, and this is part of the presentation that we make in refugee resettlement, is if you are a Sunni Muslim and you're in the Middle East and you want to leave your country, there are lots of countries right next door that are Sunni countries. Saudi Arabia takes 0 Sunni Muslims. However, immediately as the 450,000 people were welcomed into Germany, Saudi Arabia, the government announced they were going to build 200 mosques and pay for them completely in the country of Germany. What does that tell you? America has 2,200 mosques. In the last 10 years, 1,200 mosques have been built in urban and even rural areas in the country we live in. And Saudi Arabia has a lot to do with the Muslim Brotherhood and the penetration of the Muslim Brotherhood in our federal government, our Homeland Security, and the state of Michigan and Lansing in the Muslim Brotherhood organization called CARE. So the Constitution does not invite us to commit suicide. Next question.
في كل جامع الإسلام يوميا يصلون 5 مرات.
In every mosque, the Muslims, they pray 5 times daily.
كل صلاة تدعو إلى قتل المسيحيين.
They pray 5 times daily, and in each prayer they curse the Christians and Jews.
بالكرة الأرضية أكو سكان الكرة الأرضية 8 مليارات ونص، فهم يريدون يقتلون كل سكان الكرة الأرضية ما عدا المسلم.
They want to kill all the citizens of the whole world except the Muslims.
That's right.
I just want to share with you that there was a presentation of material that's consistent with this gentleman. It was presented on Tuesday night, and it discusses a 100-year plan which was found in Switzerland in 1982. The plan calls for basically an infidel-free world by 2082. So, thank you. Yes, sir. How about this gentleman back here?
You know, Saudi Arabia, someone mentioned that called Germany that we will build 200 mosques, for the refugees. And I believe that's true. They did say that. But in fact, if you or if anybody can Google Islamic centers, and in the middle you will see two common words, either educational or cultural. The reason for those two words in the middle are because they make him qualify for grants from our government, our taxes. So we're paying for that regardless. And we are sleeping. We are not paying attention to this. We are paying for all these mosques that they are building. 1,200 mosques were built on our taxes. I'm sick and tired of people thinking that Saudi Arabia is paying for them. If they want to pay for them, let them take them over there. This is the problem. That we're paying for it, but we don't know it. We don't see it. And the thing is, they're using these, even though you see so many people are getting veils around, the reason is because CARE is getting billions, if not more than billions of dollars from our taxes and using it under table to pay for some people who have 4 or 5 women. One is legal, 3 are girlfriends, and they have 20 kids or 30 kids, and they're getting so much money from us, and they're paying them money. If you have 5 girls and 1 wife, each girl 500, wife is 1,000, that's $3,000, $4,000 a month, if not more than that. And then we are paying for all this. At the end of the month, they come to the guy, you know what, we paid you $3,000, $4,000, but you have to pay for the mosque $500 a month. So they're getting the money indirectly from the back door, and we all paying for that. Why aren't we waking up America or the world? Thank you.
One comment, I don't know if anybody has seen it, but in Angola, which is a Christian country, African country, they're kicking the Muslims out, and the government of Angola is bulldozing 80 mosques. They're knocking them all down. They're kicking the Muslims out of their country. Get out of here.
I just want to comment on one thing. Dick, what you said about none of the Sunni countries and the rich countries are not taking any. You know what one of the leaders said in Saudi Arabia? He said, we don't want to jeopardize the stability of our country. That was the reason they used. They're willing to fund money outside, but they don't want any entry. But we're all supposed to take, everyone else is supposed to take them, but their own people.
And just for the record, especially that there's a camera here, and I just want all the churches to be protected in Michigan too, so that there's no types of retaliation. But for the record, we were one of the first people, actually we were the first people in Iraq in that area to accept Muslims, and we welcomed them with a warm welcome, and we were very friendly with them. We, lived side by side. But the thing is, we just base it on facts, and we're afraid, just like our sister here said, we're afraid. We don't want to discriminate. We don't hate any of them. We have, a few Muslims, even a Sunni, that's helping the cause from the back, from behind the scenes. But the thing is, if you look at the population in Iraq, at one moment there were 30 million Christians. Right now there's only 300,000. So we're just basing it on facts, and we don't want the same thing to happen, especially right here in Michigan or anywhere in the United States. It's a decreasing Christian population, and we don't want that, and we don't want to discriminate. But at the moment that they start building churches in Saudi Arabia, in all the UAE, all these Arab countries that are funding ISIS, is the moment that we will live peacefully together, equally.
Okay, we have 2 questions in the back. They've been waiting a while. Ma'am, can you come up?
I'll just speak from my seat. There's 6 challengers running, and this question is really, I'm delegating this question to Joe Chudnick, Myra Smith, and Paul Smith, more so than the others. In my home, there's 3 voters, husband, wife, and adult son. And my question to the 3 of you is, as residents, are we going to have the opportunity? We've been going to the city council meetings very diligently this year since May. Are you going to give us the opportunity to come to the podium and ask a question without being threatened, called out of order, escorted out by the police, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So that's going to determine our votes for you. 3 votes from our one home And we like to hear Joe, who's been a long-time business resident, business owner in the city of Sterling Heights. Paul Smith can speak from that angle because Paul and Myra have been threatened to, been thrown out of that room on many occasions that I was there. So I'm just questioning the integrity and the respect that you're going to have for the residents if we decide and choose to put you up in those seats. So, and also so I'll wait for those answers. But I'd also like Jasmine to share the fact of the matter. On August 13th, the night of the zoning meeting, shortly within a week of that time, Jasmine Early, I do live in Hadley Village, Jasmine Early came out about 4 days after that meeting and photographed 5 homes and 1 for sale. I have a very close friend of mine, a colleague that I work together with. She's a school teacher at Sterling Heights High School. She has 3 children under 9 and did not know where she was going, but she put her home for sale in fear of what was coming just outside of our subdivision. So I really would like if you could emphasize coming out to Hadley Village and taking pictures of the 5 homes that went for sale. And they did that not knowing what's in front of us, not knowing what's ahead of us. Those homes are still for sale. We invited Jasmine to come out and take a look at it and call up the realtors and ask them when those homes are on the market. She can tell you a little bit better on that if you have any questions. But for the panel up there, I'd like to know what you're going to do for your residents as far as respect and integrity goes, because we are paying for your seats. You don't own those seats. We own those seats as residents. So we have been coming there diligently since May, and we are not happy with what has been happening. And I think a lot of people that are present here for other issues, including the mosque. We're present here to know that our equality, that our concerns matter, and that when we do go to City Hall, that you're not going to escort us out with the police. So we'd like to hear what you have to say about that tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, the first thing is I liked it the way it was when Mayor Noddy was mayor. He let the people talk forever. We never really set a time limit. I think we did one time. It was for the council chambers was just full, and if you let everybody go on for a half hour, then there were several times where I've been at meetings where they extended the meeting after 12 o'clock. They have to vote for it. So this 7-minute rule is crazy. And I want to speak under communication from citizens about roads. This was a couple of meetings ago when the council chambers was full of people for or against the mosque. When it came to communication from citizens, and I told Mr. Taylor that I'm not here to speak, I want to talk about city issues, and I want my full 7 minutes, and he wouldn't give me 7 minutes. He only gave me 3 minutes, And the other thing was Mayor Noddy would sit there, and council would sit there, and they wouldn't say one word. And that's the way it's supposed to be. There's no debate supposed to be going on between you. If you have a question, ask the question, then sit down, and they'll answer it. But Mike Taylor interrupts everybody every single time and keeps calling people out of order if you say something that he doesn't like. Joe Romano will say, well, Mayor, Taylor, he's out of order, she's out of order, or attacking their character. Well, that's just not true at all. We're calling you to task for your votes. We're calling you to task for things that you said in the past. A good example was Mrs. Ryan with the sign deal. He's got illegal signs around all over the city, and she was trying to bring that up, and he said, well, that's a campaign issue, and, wouldn't let her continue on, and then Mrs. Smith, got into it, and she got hot in the collar. So, he's muzzling the residents, and that will change if I'm elected to council. It's going to go back the way it used to be. I don't mind sitting there. If you're paying me, I'll sit there till midnight and listen to your concerns. So that's it. Vote for me, and I'm going to do that for you.
Well, I have a plan of how I plan to run the meetings, and I guess, of course, like everything else, it's contingent on getting a majority of council to back me up. But you still get to speak for 7 minutes, but I'm going to break it up a little bit differently. At the beginning of the meetings, we have certain presentations, including a presentation by the city manager. I think we'll have fewer presentations because I probably won't be bringing in SEMCOG and Michigan Municipal League and DTE and other people that the city manager wants to speak. But I'm thinking of your 7 minutes. I'm going to give you 2 minutes after the presentations to give a rebuttal to the presentation while the presenter is still in the room. The typical way our council meeting goes is there's a half hour or 45 minutes of monologues at the beginning of the meeting, and then sometime around 10:30, you get to say what you think about the presentation, but the presenter's already taken off. So I think I'm going to give at least a 2-minute rebuttal to the opening presentations. Then the consent agenda won't be so long, but therefore there'll be more voting items to discuss. So I think I'm going to go with 5 minutes on a voting item. And again, I think with just one item at a time, in 5 minutes, you can say that you're for or against it and why. And then finally, comments